Hello once again. Cathar 41. Aliens, UFOs and Gnostics. Us. I was born in a little town in North Queensland, far North Queensland, called Tully. And Tully is probably regarded as the UFO capital of Australia. And this stems from a situation in 1966. A gentleman called George Pedley was driving his tractor. He heard this hissing sound. He thought there was something wrong with his tractor. He looked up and here was this 25-foot UFO, like two saucers placed one on top of the other, spinning rapidly, went past him, disappeared. To say he was surprised, I think would be an understatement. Anyway, what he did do, he went back from the direction that the UFO took off from, and he'd only passed the area a short time before that, about 15 minutes, and the area was normal, but this time there was these sword grasses, these tall rushes, were all in a circular pattern. We've all seen these crop circles, which we know now there's various people who've said they've admitted doing it, but even the people in England who did it said they were influenced by this circular pattern in Tully, North Queensland, at a place called Horseshoe Lagoon, which, by the way, if you get onto Google Map, you can still see today that the outline of where that depression is. This was a sighting. The farm that he was on at the time was a chap called Albert Panizzi, and his brother Ross. I went to school, I think, with Ross. It was so long ago. And they went back. Albert grabbed his camera, went back, and they took photographs. The route, from the lagoon, the roots were upturned, and it was clear on the bottom. This has been investigated. It's still there. It's personal to me because my father came to Sydney, and my uncle, Len Basser, there's a university college named after him. He was science master at Sydney Grammar. He taught a lot of our top scientists. And he said to my father, after we had dinner in the evening, he said to my father, "Harry," he said, "you believe in UFOs?" Because Tully, this is where these UFOs come from. And my father said, "Well, look," he said, "I've got no opinion one way or the other." But he was a Shell agent at the time. So he said, one of the representatives from Shell came and said, "Harry, I'm crazy about UFOs. Could you take me out to the farm, Panizzi's farm, where this happened?" He said, "I'd love to come out and I'd love to see it." So my father went out with him. Now this was some years after the incident. But they went to where it was. They took him to the area, and it wasn't just one circular thing, there was others as well. But my father said, "I walked out, we stood on those rushes, and even years after, it didn't give beneath us, it was still there." So he said, "That I do know, so something made that happen," and so forth. And my uncle, who was a little bit, being a little bit smart, and he said, he said, "It's UFOria, it was all baloney, there's nothing in it." Be as it may. But there was one other sighting by a Father Gill, and this was in New Guinea. But this was witnessed by 29 other people, and it was in 1959 in January, I believe. And what happened? A UFO. They were on the mission. He was was a missionary, I presume, was on one hill, and then there's a valley, and then there was another hill not that far away on the other side of the valley. But it was very steep hills, and the other hill wasn't that far away. And there was a number of sightings, but in any case, this UFO landed. They had 4 occupants, and they came out at various times, and they looked as though they were doing repairs. So this Father Gill said, well, he definitely didn't believe in UFOs before this. And he got 29 other people who were at that mission, teachers, all various people, all to sign the statement of what they saw, and they all saw the same thing. Now, the interesting thing about this is because we've heard of ET and we have an idea in our minds about what an alien is like. There's on YouTube you can see Skinny Bob, and people still haven't made up their minds whether that's actually an alien or not, or just a really good mock-up. It's certainly convincing if you see it, and they've all got these large heads and these luminous eyes, and it appears to be that there possibly are aliens like this. But this Father Gill, he saw these people and he said they were humanoid. He said, look, they look just like us. He said they could be people in uniform, in a silver uniform. Now, what they did do was that on the second day, because they were there over a series of days doing their repairs or whatever they were doing, it was on 4 legs, so they decided to wave to the aliens, and they waved back one hand. Later they waved 2 hands. The aliens waved back with 2 hands. And so what actually happened, the 4 aliens, these humanoid aliens who looked like us, waved back. The 4 of them waved back with 2 arms. So there's 29 witnesses. This is not just one person, one person's opinion or one person's sighting, and people just can't discount this. Now, there's a number of things about this. This is factual. I mean, that definitely happened. The UFO then took off. There was a blue light now, but there were 60 sightings, all within a number of weeks in that particular period. This wasn't, but this was the only time they were waving to each other, 1 hand and 2 hands and so forth. But there was no voices. So, are there extraterrestrials, aliens? Well, I certainly believe so. I mean, there's enough sightings now. Even NASA, you can see on YouTube. You can see NASA. Where this is NASA has from the spaceship, and you can see a UFO being tracked right across India, and it went the breadth of India in 8 minutes. Now this is really moving, and there's numerous sightings. So obviously some are fake, some are optical illusions. But what does it mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? Well, for one thing, it means we're not alone in the universe. That's for sure. But from a philosophical or theological point of view, we have our religions, the great faiths, the Abrahamic faiths, who believe their deity, God, is a personal God. Jesus, etc., is in our likeness. And also that basically, well, I think things are changing, but Earth was the centre of the universe, whatever universe there was. So if we do meet aliens, and aliens do eventually arrive, and there's no uncertain terms, we have them, it's proved, as President Ronald Reagan said. He said, if there are aliens, extraterrestrials, and he said, and they do arrive on Earth, he said, how petty will our inter-nations arguments, the arguments between this state and that state, between one political party and another, how petty will they seem? But this also will apply to religions, because do we have a personal God, in personal meaning looking like us, and we have an alien looking like that? So I'm afraid their theologies will crumble, or they'll have to change their deity or things to suit. Now, from a Gnostic point of view, we have a deity, a divinity we call a source, which is beyond our comprehension. It always existed. Whatever it looks like, or whatever form it takes, we haven't a clue. It's beyond our human comprehension. From our point of view, we keep being reincarnated. We're eventually out to improve, become enlightened, perfect ourselves, lifetime after lifetime. So this applies to aliens, extraterrestrials as well. Now, they say that they may live for 1,000 years. We only live for 100 years. It doesn't matter. The point is, from the point of view of repeating our lives, the world of spirit, that's fine as far as Gnostics. From a Gnostic point of view, a Cathar point of view, whether there's this type of extraterrestrial, there's 2 types of aliens, there's 50 types of aliens from galaxies and worlds, it doesn't really matter. Our philosophy holds good. I'm afraid the Abrahamic faiths don't fare so well because of their particular beliefs. Now, I'm reminded of a story, because no matter how serious things are, there's always a light side to everything. It appears that because this spaceship crashed, there was these 2 Martians, a male and a female, and they were they were okay. They a few scratches and bumps, but they were okay, and they were being interviewed by NASA scientists. Anyhow, during the course of the interview and asking them all these various questions, they said, how do you people reproduce? How do you Martians reproduce? Oh, they said, we'll show you. So the male and the female Martian, they just held each other together. It took about 10 minutes, and all of a sudden they produced this baby Martian. I said, well, there's our baby Martian. And so during the course of the conversation, the Martian said, oh, by the way, how do you humans reproduce? Oh, this left the NASA scientists in a quandary. What do we do? Now, they've shown us the courtesy of how they reproduce, the little Martian, and we'll have to do the same. So I didn't know what to do, because, you know, there's a sex act. So they prevailed upon this good-looking brunette, the gentleman, and a good-looking blonde who was also a scientist, and they said, look, this isn't the cause of scientists. This is in the cause of science. Consider it a scientific experiment. But you two will have to have sex to show these people how we reproduce here on Earth. So they did. They had the sex act, and that was fine. 10, 15 minutes, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, the Martian said, that's very, very, very interesting. That's how you people do it. That's how you people have babies. That's how you have Earthlings. I said, yes, that's how we do it. He said, but where's the Earthling? Where's the baby? And they said, oh, that takes another 9 months. Oh, and they said, in that case, what was all that hurry up towards the end? Okay, the point is, the most serious subjects we talk about, we're going to have a life, nothing is sacred. We can have a joke about everything. So, aliens, UFOs, there's more than enough evidence now, because in YouTube they even showed each month the sightings in various parts of the world, and some of the sightings are absolutely amazing. there's odd, there's some that could be in this or there could be that. But from a Gnostic point of view, a Cathar point of view, we have no problem with science. That's good science. Not science that is going to harm us or harm mankind. Why should we agree with that? We've got scientists who do terrible things in the cause of nationalism. As I said, patriotism is the last resort of a scoundrel. But if it does happen that we are finally introduced to a genuine alien and there's no argument and there's the President of the United States, Russia, whatever, they greet these people officially as they do at other international meetings. It's on the United Nations. There's no argument. From a Gnostic point of view, it's all in the game. It's all part of the scheme of things. We do not have to change or budge from our philosophy one iota. Be you an alien, an extraterrestrial, a human being, a humanoid, we are there to improve ourselves, to perfect ourselves, to become a better person within the species that we happen to inhabit. This is a Gnostic point of view. So we die after 100 years, they die after 1,000 years. But there's still a reincarnation. Our basic personality survives, keeps coming back. One interesting point, just to finish on. Mathematically, it would be virtually impossible for our world and an extraterrestrial world to commence at the same time, or life and civilization appear and run in parallel. That is virtually a mathematical impossibility. So therefore, it means that an extraterrestrial world, their civilization must be either behind us, not as advanced as ours, or more advanced than ours. And possibly, there's nothing to say that it hasn't been advanced by 1,000,000 years. Now, our civilization goes back 4,000 years, depending on what civilization, but electricity, 200 years. Computers, 50 years. But how much we've learned in that time, and how much we've advanced. But just imagine if there's another civilization, extraterrestrial, and that civilization has been advancing for 500,000 years or 1,000,000 years, and they're that far in advance of us. Because you're either behind us or in advance of us or ahead of us, and it's unlikely that you're only going to be 1,000 years ahead of us. It's more likely you'll be 500,000, possibly even 1,000,000 years ahead of us as far as the civilization is concerned. So therefore, our extraterrestrial friends, our aliens, might be looking at us just the same as someone's living in New York City and he's a professor of science, and he thinks, well, how much do I know? And compared to a bushman, a primitive bushman in the Kalahari Desert, they might be looking at us as very primitive individuals indeed, even though we think we are so smart. Well, if they're here, I welcome them and I embrace the situation, because it's a better way to go, I think, and I think ultimately it will be all to our good. On that note, I'll conclude for today. Bye for now.